Hello everyone, thanks for joining my YouTube channel. My name is Anis with CyneWorX Technologies. Today we're going to learn about DNS. What is DNS? DNS stands for Domain Name System. What it does, the purpose of this protocol is DNS resolve host name into the IP addresses and IP addresses into the host name. It converts because as a human we do not remember. For us, it's not possible to remember all the IP addresses of every single website or a host. So DNS make it very easy for us, and we just need to remember the name, like for example, google.com, facebook.com, yahoo.com, etc. Right? So every time we go to the browser, we enter in the URL, we enter the host name, like google.com, let's suppose. So google.com is not like the computer does not understand the host name. It doesn't go by the name, it just go by the IP addresses. So the DNS server helped us to resolve the host name into the IP, and then the computer understand the IP. So it goes to the next hop, and then the DNS server just resolve the name and add the IP address into the packet and send it to the specific route. All right. So let's see. So when a user type domain names such as google.com or facebook.com into the browser, DNS is responsible for finding the correct IP address for those sites. All right. So the browsers then use these addresses to communicate with the origin servers to access website information. So it doesn't have to be a servers, but it could be, let's say your phone, your printer, your PC, but anything like that. So let's go to the practical and see how we can configure the router as a DNS server. So I have this topology in Eve, and I'm going to turn on these devices. If you guys don't know how to use Eve, I will be uploading a video. It will be definitely a very long video because it's not just a simple task. So, or if you want to just search in YouTube, you will find a lot of videos how to configure how to configure Eve in your system. All right, so let's go to so let me explain the diagram first. So this is my whole network topology. I have this network 192.168.1.0 is my network. It has one switch, access switch connected to the router, and then I have 3 PCs, virtual PCs, and I assign the IP addresses to, so the router IP address is 192.168.1.1. and the host IP address is 192.168.1.11, 1.12, and 1.13. So first of all, we are going to assign the IP addresses to the router. So let me just open this. Okay, so as usual, would you like to terminate on install? Yes. The first one is no. Okay. And let's wait for the router to boot up. Okay, so let's go to the enable privilege exec mode. And now, as usual, we have to go to the config mode, but let me see what we have in the show running. So no host name, no IP DNS. Okay, all the Ethernet ports are down. Okay, so now let's go to the config mode. First of all, let's assign the IP address to the interface. So interface E0/0. This is where my network is connected. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna assign the IP address 192.168.1.1 with the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. All right, so do this and no shut. Okay, so that's it for the router for now. And now let's go to the PC. We'll be assigning IP addresses to the PC. These are not like Windows PC, so there are some little bit different commands. I'll probably, I'll probably have to make another video for these PCs, how to configure them. But for now, let's assign the IP addresses to this. So IP, let me do the question mark. Okay, so IP, and this is the first PC on the left. So the address should be 192.168.1.11. 192.168.1.11. The subnet mask you can do like in two different ways. First, I'm gonna do with the /24, and then I'll be assigning the router IP address, which is the gateway. Okay, so 192.168.1.1. Okay, it's checking for the IP addresses just to make sure it's not a duplicate. Let's do show IP. Okay, so as you see here, the PC name is virtual PC, and IP address with the mask is 192.168.1.11. Gateway is 192.168.1.1. I'm gonna do IP DNS also. So DNS 192.168.1.1. So in our scenario, our router is gonna be like this router. It's gonna be acting as a DNS server. So that's why we have to configure this as a DNS in the PC also. Like for example, we are asking the PC that if you need to resolve any names, just go to this IP address. Okay, so now show IP again, and here it is. So we have DNS, the same IP address. It could be different if you want to add another, port in there, another network to the router, or maybe another switch, and then you can, or maybe it can be like a server. So you can assign that IP address instead of this. Then, but in my case, I'm gonna use my router as a DNS server. So that's why I have assigned the same IP address. Okay, so let's see, we are gonna ping this 192.168.1.1, and that's it. It's working, right? We haven't assigned the IP address to PC2 and PC3. So the PC2 will be 12. I'm gonna ping this and it will not work because we haven't assigned this IP address to any host. All right, so let's go to the second PC. Okay, so IP 192.168.1.12. Last in the previous PC, I used /24, but in this one, I'm going to use 255.255.255.0. You can use both ways, right? You can just do /24, 26, whatever your subnet mask is, or you can just type the whole subnet mask with the default gateway 1.1. All right, I just assigned the IP address or show IP. Again, we need to do the DNS 192.168.1.1. All right, show IP again, and that's it. All right, so now if we do ping 192.168.1.1, it should be working, right? And if we do 1.11, which is the PC1, that should be pinging also. And that's it. It's working, right? And let me just try PC13. As we haven't assigned the IP address to any device, it will not work. All right, as expected, it's not working, but as once we configure this IP address, I'm sorry, this PC with the IP address, it will work. 190. 192.168.1.13. All right, I'm gonna do /24, and the gateway IP address is 192.168.1.1. Okay, yes. So IP DNS 192.168.1.1. All right, and show IP. So 113, 1.1, and DNS is also the same. Okay, so the PCs are good to go. Okay, let's verify if it's working. Yep, it's pinging. And let's do 11. Okay, so it's pinging 1 and 11. So it's pinging the router and the PC1 on the left-hand side. Okay, so our PC is good to go. Now we are going to configure our router as a DNS server. Okay, so let's see. Okay, first of all, let's see show IP DNS. Okay, domain lookup is enabled, but there is no domain name. There is nothing by default, nothing in there, right? So we are going to configure it. First of all, let's do the host name. Let's CyneWorX. Okay, now let's enable the DNS. Okay, so what the DNS is gonna be IP DNS server, and enter. Okay, and now we are gonna do IP domain lookup. Okay, let's do enter. So by this command, we are asking the router to look for a domain name. So like, for example, if you type something and, okay, let me show you something. For example, if I do, by mistake, if I type something, okay. So now, see, it's trying to translate this host domain server is nothing because we haven't, configured this one. So what you guys probably have noticed, sometimes you make a mistake and, you type something and, just it takes like a few seconds and you have to wait for it to finish because there's no way to, escape this. So, it will try to find the server and then it will say, okay, bad IP address or host name. And of course, it's not exist. So that's why, it's going to give you this error message. But the only problem is it's kind of headache, to when you type something by mistake and then it just takes a few seconds, to find the server. So if you want to avoid that, what you can do, you can do no IP domain lookup. Okay, this is just simple command. And now if I do this thing again, okay, see, as you enter, it will just give you like within 1 second, it will just give you the answer. It doesn't have to go through like. So what we did actually, we asked the router to never look for any IP and never look for any host names. So for example, if I do ping 192.168.1.13, it should be pinging, right? It should be pinging all devices, but it will not look for the host name. But since now we are configuring this device, this router, as a DNS server, then we have to enable this command. So I'm gonna go back to IP domain lookup. Okay, and now I'm gonna ask the IP and DNS. Sorry. I think it's IP name server. Yep. So 192.168. You know what? Okay, let's use google.com. Okay, that's it. That's number one. And I'm just gonna use a random number, right? 192.168.20.20. This number, this IP does not exist in my network, but I'm gonna use it, and I'm gonna show you something, later on. So what I'm by these commands, what are we asking the router? That we are gonna we're gonna add some host names with the IP addresses into the system. But if you cannot find these, in my DNS database, then you have to go to these two IP addresses for help. So like, for example, if I'm connected to the network and I have my own DNS server, which has, let's say, like 20 host names with the IP addresses, and if I type, let's say, like, for example, google.com, and google.com is not in my DNS database, so the router will then try to go to one of these addresses. Like, first it will go to 8.8.8. If it cannot find the IP address or the host name, then the next one will be the next IP address. It will search 192.168.20.20. All right, so let's do that. It is just because, like, for example, you have more than one server, or you can do one server more than one, whatever you guys have, depends on your network. So if you have like 3 servers, assign all 3 IP addresses here, like IP name server, and then the IP address of that specific server, and it will just go one by one. The router will just send the traffic to that first IP address. If it does not find any host name for that, then it will go to the next one, and then the next one, and then finally, if not, then it will give you the answer that, hey, there's no host name in this database. So these are the name servers. Like, let's say we have those 2 servers in our network. The next few commands I'm gonna add. Let's see, host. So IP host, and I think it's CCNA.com, for example, and 192.168.2.20. All right. So by this command, what I'm asking my router, that I'm adding an entry in my DNS database that, hey, I have a host which names is CCNA.com, and the IP address for that host is 192.168.2.20. So what it means is, if I ping CCNA.com, or if I go to my browser, I say CCNA.com, or if I type the IP address 192.168.2.0, both of them will send the traffic to that specific route. Okay, so I'm going to add 3. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's my second host. And the third one, we can do, like, for example, my company .com 192.168.4.0. All right, so that's it for the DNS. And let's see. Okay, since we don't have these networks, it will not work for now. But I'm gonna add, let's see, 192.168.2.20, and it's not pinging. And why? Because we do not have those IP addresses in the system, and the router does not know where to go, where to find these. So if I do, let's say, CCNA.com, and it will do the same thing, because IP address, that IP address is equal to the host name. So of course, one of them, like, for example, if I cannot ping the IP, then of course I will not be able to ping the host name, because it's kind of the same thing for the router. So what we're gonna do, let's do show IP interface brief. Okay, let me expand it a little bit. Okay, so right now we have only one network, which is up and up, and we need to assign those servers IP addresses into the rest of the ports. So config T 1, I'm going to go to one of the interface, so the IP address 192.168.2.20. Okay, no shut, and you will see a message right now. Okay, I'm going to go to interface 2, 3.30, 255, 255. Okay, I'm going to do no shut this one too, interface /4, sorry, 3. Okay, and we'll do the same thing, IP address 192.168.4.0. Subnet mask 0 and no shut. Okay, and save. Right now, show IP interface brief. Oops, sorry guys. Okay, so we have all our network IP addresses up and running, and now, so these are my servers, right? Like the DNS server, like for example, my web server. One is CCNA.com, the other one was CyneWorX.com, and the last one was mycompany.com. So let's do ping CCNA.com. There we go. See? And ping CyneWorX.com, and there we go. Ping is successful. The last one was mycompany.com. We have to verify all of our steps because we want to make sure, you know, our network and all the servers are up and running. So every time you configure a switch, network, interface, or whatever you do, you must verify it from the router and from the other side, the other end devices, one of the end devices. Okay. So from the router, I can ping all of them by the host name and the IP addresses. So you have noticed one thing, like every time I enter, like let's say I ping CyneWorX.com, and here it says sending 500 byte ICMP echoes to 192.168.3.30. Okay, so by this command, I know that the IP address for this server, web server, is 192.168.3.30. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, okay, let's try something else. If you guys remember earlier, I told you that every time you type something, this the host name, this information will go to the one of the name servers we assign, like for example 8.8.8, and the other one was 192.168.2.20. all right, so it's gonna go to one of those IP addresses if it believes that these are the servers. So if the server or the router cannot find these IP addresses, then of course it will, you know, throw you an error or reply with no result. So we have in our database, we have CCNA.com, we have CyneWorX.com, we have mycompany.com, right? So I'm gonna do ping google.com. Okay, so if you see here, it's translating google.com, domain server is 8.8.8. So as you remember, I told you guys before that first is gonna go to the first IP address. It got no response from there, and now it's checking in this database. All right, so unrecognized host or address or protocol not running. So by this command, you can verify that one of the server is down. So that was the main purpose, to give, you know, these IP addresses. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to the PC, and first we're gonna ping the devices, and then we will ping by IP addresses and ping by names then. So ping 192.168.1.1. all right, it's pinging. I'm gonna do, that's the router in the gateway, in the DNS IP address. So let's do 2.20, and that's it. It's working. It's pinging one of my web server. I'm gonna do, what was that, 3.30, I believe. Yep, and it's pinging too. Okay, I'm gonna verify the last one, which is 4.40. Okay, so now it's pinging all 3 web servers. My network is good. It's pinging by the IP address, but now I have to verify if the DNS is resolving the host names into the IP addresses. So ping mycompany.com, and that's it. See, the PC is showing you that when you type the ping and then the host name, it says mycompany.com resolved to 192.168.4.0, and it's pinging. All right, the ping is successful. The ICMP response is coming back, and now we are gonna ping CCNA.com. It will show us the same message, successfully pinged. Okay, CCNA.com resolved to 192.168.2.20. I'm gonna do my last web server. Oh, sorry, not the IP. What was the name? CyneWorX.com. That's it. We are successful. So this is how you guys configure your router as a DNS server. All right. So thank you so much, guys. Thanks for watching this video. And please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, first of all, please subscribe to my channel. And also, let me know if you guys have any question, concern, or any issues regarding this video or other video. Leave me a message in the comment section. I will try my best to reply to you guys. Thank you.